You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. It's November, and this month has been going off without a hitch. Sans the election part, of course, but it's been nearly 2 weeks since the election, and I'm adapting. I don't know if I should even call it a new normal, because it's just, the same political system. Democrats without a backbone. Here we go. Somebody says stolen elections, stolen boxing fights. They're tired. They're talking about that Paul nonsense, whatever that Paul fight against Mike Tyson that no one believes. Listen, do y'all really believe that? I mean, do y'all? I mean, I know Mike Tyson said something. I mean, that man 58. Paul, what was that? What was that? Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, the fight of the year on Netflix Live, which was a hot mess. I didn't watch the fight. But of course, everyone and mother was talking about it. I was too busy at another gala to even care. But it's just, it's always something. Someone says stolen elections. Stop the steal. No, I mean, she lost. But what we can say is that there was no referendum. I'm going to talk more about that later in this show. But this whole sweeping, like the more that the votes are getting, counted and things are fleshing out, it's very clear what the referendum is, that it's, Trump is now less than 50% of the popular vote. He has more than her, as of the time of recording this podcast, but the idea that this was just a sweeping, this country is split. Like 50-50 split amongst voters who voted, right? And while he did win all of the battleground states, he scathed. He very much, shaved percentage points. He made some gains compared to 2020, but there isn't this massive declarativeness of him amongst the population. Like the country is very much so split. Like it is. I mean, I could say 50-50, but he's at 49-33, whatever. Like, it is not the massive, referendum that I think people initially thought it was. But the fact that this man even got elected, for me, it is enough. Look, Black people, we do our own assessment. I know that there is the numericalness of it all, but the fact that this man even did better than her in this country says a lot. And not the things that we think it say, right? But it still says a lot. And we know how he got elected, and we know which demographics gave him that advantage. And as much as people want to keep talking and lumping up the communities, oh, he made gains with Black men and blah, blah, blah. Stop all that. Those gains were not the gains that allowed him to win. We know that at the end of the day, the serious gains were white women and white men together, okay? Had they voted differently, even by a 5% difference, any other community that he saw a 2%, 3%, whatever little increase, that would have been enough to sweep. So for example, I'll give an example. Native Americans, the majority of Native Americans voted for Donald Trump. Like he won the Native American vote. But they're literally like 1% of the population. So no one's going to waste any energy blaming Native Americans for the outcome of the election. Some people are actually surprised that that was the case. I'm not. I think sometimes people assume that anyone who isn't white just automatically is liberal or support Democrats or progressive, and that's not the case. So there's a lot of interesting intersections there that people don't take the time to talk about. But nonetheless, when there's all these intercultural debates about elections, I always remind people that white people in this country are the majority, the dominant race as far as population goes and all of that, acquisition of resources, you name it. And so however they sway is how an election will go. I mean, if you really look at Obama in 2012, he was doing numbers with certain demographics of white men that allowed him to win a second term. So it's really however white women go, right? If white women have the real power as quote unquote a minority within population talk, that they could sway the outcome of election based on how they show up to the polls. But as much as people want to act like it's black people, Latino people, other people, it's not. I mean, I will say the Latino vote, however, it has played at certain disadvantages, right? Whenever they uptick their vote, there is a sway in certain areas. And I think where it matters the most isn't necessarily in the overall popular vote, but in certain areas, right? That can make an outcome or change, which direction the state goes in electoral for electoral votes. So for example, we think about Florida, the fact that Trump won Miami-Dade County was because they have a huge Cuban population. And a lot of them showed up for Trump, which gave him the advantage to, of course, dominate and take over Florida, which we weren't shocked that he won Florida, but that's an example where the Latino vote in a battleground state, or it's not really a battleground state anymore, but like a state like Florida could make the difference. And they chose Trump. So, there you have it. You look at an area like a state like Wisconsin, if a lot of black voters show up in a city like Milwaukee, that could play a role in how Wisconsin goes. That's how Biden won Wisconsin, is because of, a situation like Milwaukee. Even Illinois, like you look at Illinois, like if there is a strong black turnout in Chicago, that of course will keep Illinois blue, which it stayed blue. DC, DMV areas, those black populations, if they show up high, that's keeping those areas blue. So we've seen that even in Michigan, right? Like there's a strong Arab community. Dearborn, which is a strong Arab Muslim community, voted for Trump, which also helped propel Michigan to go for Trump. So, data matters. Data matters. It does matter in those cases. But in all those cases, black people, as a majority, showed up and showed out. And that for the right candidate. So when everybody talk about these little 1% gains, there's no place on the map where the black population of its racial demographic went in favor of Trump and influenced a statewide racial decision. So just consider that rhetoric. Because I've heard some people say it, and I'm just kind of like, don't give me my analysis. Don't give me my analysis, because facts matter, and so does the data. So, I see all of the changes and trends, but in the meantime, I'm just taking it easy. Like I'm observing what's happening, but I'm also kind of like, I'm not going to let this be 2016 all over again. I was going to say 2020, but I'm not going to let it be 2016 all over again over here. I think for me, it's more like I'm vigilant, I'm observant, I'm seeing what's going on, but I'm not letting it take over my everyday space. It's like be mindful, be aware, but at the same time, it's not like I'm going to sit up and panic. And what's interesting is that like this past weekend, like I've been just going out, doing my thing. And I'm talking to other black people, and we're just kind of like, we're going to figure it out. And that was we, as in black people, because we're just like, there's a movement with us. Like, we're just kind of like, we're going to get to it, but we're just not going to let this take up space in our everyday life. Because at this point, all we can do is be black, pay our taxes, and make it work. And I mean that for Wesley Snipes too. All of us pay our taxes. Everyone should be paying their taxes. But nonetheless, we should just, it's just more like, we're going to make this happen. We're going to we come from a very resilient, strong, strategic bloodline. Like, my ancestry has had worse experiences, and this is terrible, right? Let's be clear. These election results are terrible. But there's a sense of just, I'm not about to lose my mind. I'm not going to just be on the edge of my seat. I did all of that in 2016. I was thinking all these different thoughts. Oh, should I purchase a gun? Should I do all these things? I'm just kind of like, it's gonna be what the fuck it's gonna be. But you know what? I'm gonna do the best that I can with all that I have and keep pushing through. But I'm not going to keep drinking the fear mongering of it all, because I think about the hypocrisy in some of that. And I'm supposed to be talking about what I have going on this weekend and saving this for later. But I will say, though, one little thing before I get on what I've done this weekend, because it was a lot. What I will say is that this is why Democrats struggle with me, because y'all done sat up here, y'all done called Trump a fascist, you done said democracy's on the line, and then you got Biden over here at the White House, with the first lady, and they shaking hands, they invited him to sit down on the couch, everybody chilling like it's just like business as usual in DC. There's pictures of Chuck Schumer over there. Everybody all like, just peaceful transition of power. And it's just like, they didn't do that. Republicans, the far right, when Trump lost in 2020, he had so much conviction in denying everything that happened. They were so upset. They were so afraid of the country's future, all this. They resisted all the way through. Still ain't admitted that he lost in 2020. And now he thinks that this should have been a third term for him. That's what Trump's thinking in his head, right? So you gonna sit here with this man at this couch, play it like it's just business as usual. Like, that's what y'all do? Nah, nah. So I'm very much, mm, I'm like, this is why no one takes you all seriously. And let me be very clear. I do think there are going to be some major policy changes that's going to happen. But like, I don't understand. If this man is a fascist, this man is a threat to democracy, the fact that you all are going to bring him right in the White House and say, welcome back, and just treat it like good old days. It's the normalcy for me. He's going to have his inauguration, and Biden and Harris are going to be in there acknowledging this man in the White House like this is just normal. And this is why folks get checked out. But we'll talk about that in a few. So this weekend I enjoyed a lot of traveling. I was in New York City, Brooklyn to be exact, to celebrate my one of my besties, and of course my Penn College roommate Abel. He had his engagement with his fiancee Senna, at Maloya, which is this really new. It's a new restaurant that just opened in December. They serve Pacific Ocean Creole. Yes, it's a combination of East African dishes with French influence, with all kinds of island flavor. It was a very interesting restaurant. Like, the food was good, but it was stuff on the menu that I've never had before or never had combined. I mean, I literally, the food, expert in me had to ask this, the owner. I was like, what type of food is this? Like, I need to know the name. And he literally said to me, Pacific Ocean Creole. And so we're talking like molasses, pomegranate flavored, portobello with carrots. There was a pork sausage ragu, lima beans and lentils were all across the menu. There was this spiced ground pork samosa that was really good. Lots of things on top of white rice. But it was good. It was very good. And it was an open bar. Abel learns from the best. But it was an open bar, these really cute cocktails and wine, lots of wine. They had Blancs de Blancs. I was like, oh, check y'all out. And Cotes de Rhone. I said, oh, you guys are going in that. Again, that type of French red wine that goes with this Pacific Ocean Creole situation. I also stay at the Pod Hotel in Brooklyn. And normally I don't talk about hotels as much. I guess I sometimes do. But let me tell you about this hotel. I got let me start off by saying this is not a good review. Um, but I got this hotel through some points because you all know I'm a American Airlines Platinum A Advantage, member. Platinum, baby. Okay, I get to do two carry-ons, two check-in luggage. I never be without. Okay, and first class flights, baby. We do it all with my A Advantage card, and you too could get on my level if you decide to create an A Advantage membership today. Don't do Delta unless you live in the South. And Southwestern, baby, no, baby. We want to choose our seats over here. And Spirit is going bankrupt soon, so why would you even play with them? United, she's cute, but them delays, baby. So, like I said, American Airlines, honey, that's where you want to be. So I use my A Advantage points, which you can use for anything. You can use for gas, you can use for clothes, you can use for hotel rooms, you can use to upgrade flights, all the things you can do, which I love. I love getting my points when I shop for products at Kills. I love when I use it for American Eagle because I love American Eagle fashion. I can use it for anything. And I build my points and I do cool things like sometimes just pop up in Brooklyn for a night and just drop it on the hotel there. So I picked this hotel because it was the closest to everything that was going on in Brooklyn regarding Abel and Senna's engagement party, which was very fun. It was very great. It was also great to catch up with a couple of Penn friends. It was Penn homecoming weekend, but I skipped it. Mr. Johnson had a great contract there. He did his bartender berry extravaganza every homecoming, every reunion at Penn. They book him. So he was at Penn for Penn's homecoming, getting a check, and I was over in Brooklyn holding it down. And there were some great friends. I hadn't seen him a minute. Brooke, who was in Brooklyn, no pun intended. And of course, Ajane, who's another sweetheart, who's AK. So it was like, it's great to catch up with fam. And it was fun. But back to this hotel pod. So this hotel, okay, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I don't know if it's just New York hotels in general, these little boutique hotels. I don't know. But they're small as hell. Small as hell. But this place was really, really weird. So when I went into my spot, it looks like a Inspector Gadget type of hotel room. If anybody remember that classic 1999 movie with Rupert Everett and Matthew Broderick played Inspector Gadget. He was the lead actor, and Rupert Everett played Mr. Claw. That's a classic. It's on Disney Plus for those who want to go back in nostalgia. Like, this movie came out like 25 years ago, and I remember it when I was younger. Like, I was like, wow, I was so, like, in awe of a movie like that. But yeah, Inspector Gadget is a classic. But anywho, you remember, please tell me, people, hopefully you all remember this. The Inspector Gadget. Yes, classic. So this looked like one of those rooms. It felt like something that was trying to be futuristic, but also which is so small. And the rate for the rooms, I guess, is because you're in Brooklyn. But this is what happens with gentrification. This is why I could never live in New York. I'm not impressed. Every time I go to New York, I always want to bash New York. I do appreciate the food. There's some nice restaurants in New York. There's always fun cultural gems you can find. But I just think people are so in awe to live small for more. And that's just not me. Like, people are like, oh, look, I live here. I'm just like, yeah, but it's small as shit. And you spent all this money and you got money, but then you have to make more money to spend more money. So is it I digress. But New York is, I'm not crazy about it. Every time I go, I'm just like, so this hotel was not a hotel. It felt like I was in a studio, not even a studio of a studio. It felt like a studio hotel room. I was just shocked. So okay, so let me tell you the big thing for me. The toilet was inside of the shower. And I'm not even going to drag it because I got the pictures. So any of my friends who want to see this, y'all, I have the pictures. I will send you the pictures because I took a picture of it. The toilet was in the shower. That's how small and how basic. I felt like Nene Leakes walking into the episode on Real Housewives of Atlanta when she was in Kenya's apartment and she was like, ooh, the ghetto. And she looked all inside and she said a white refrigerator. Child, there wasn't even a refrigerator in there. So we're not even going to get onto that. But I was shook. I was like, this is hell. And New York hotels, they play with you. Them little boutique hotels, if you can avoid it, avoid it. Like New York is the type of city where you have to use a chain hotel to just know that you're going to get what you expect to get. So get you a Marriott, get you Marriott's my favorite, but Marriott, what's the other ones? I guess Holiday Inn. Hell, a Holiday Inn would have been better than that. Like, I don't know what it was, but they'll sell you up with this whole boutique hotel crap. Those boutique hotels are small. They're not meant for you to really enjoy. Like it worked out for me on a basic essentials tip because I was only there for a night. I wasn't even in the hotel room that. I was really, it was kind of like a drop your shit off, get ready to go out and party all night because their engagement party was great. There was levels to it. It was like a 3-hour open bar dinner situation buffet. And then we went to one of, I believe, Cinna's cousin's houses. They had a nice rooftop situation with wine and it was an all-night extravaganza. So for the most part, I was able to have a good time in Brooklyn with friends and everything else. But hotel-wise, when I got back home, I was not back home, back to the hotel because that was not home. I was tipsy and I was like, I was almost confused where I was at. I was like, this cannot be and I was like, oh, it is. I forgot it is. And I slept well, then got the hell up and got up out of there quickly. But I do not recommend the pod at Brooklyn, unless you're like, I'm just realizing that when I'm in New York, I need to get, like, if I'm doing hotels, I need to stick with chains. I cannot do the little boutique ones, little niche ones, because every time I find myself realizing they're small as hell. Like, I don't know what kind of construction they're doing in New York, but this ain't it. I'm a little bit more, yes, maybe I am, whatever y'all want to call me, whatever the fancy little word that you want to call me, whatever, that's just was not it. And I need to do more research because I get caught up with the fanciness of the place. So on the outside of the hotel, it's really decked out. It's really pretty. It looks nice. But I'm going to start having to do research. I'm going to have to start looking. Like, all I wanted was something that was super close so that my ability to go on Uber or whatever travel was, I wanted to be in an area where everything was near. I didn't want to go in one part because I made that mistake a couple of years ago. One time I was in Manhattan, but everything was in Brooklyn and I was going back. No, it was in Harlem, I think, for something. And I had a hotel because I don't know New York like this. So I'm like, oh, we can get this cute, nice hotel in Manhattan, which was a really nice hotel. So the hotel was great. But the problem was that we had to keep going to Harlem, in long rides. And I refused to do any public transportation. New York City, y'all want to talk about Philadelphia? Y'all had killing people and shooting people for skipping their fare. Like, I know SEPTA's going through right now in Philly, but one thing we don't do, we don't kill people for skipping fare. That's what we don't do. You all got too much going on. Y'all mayor is Eric Adams, and he looking like he want to get his pardon, so he going to do whatever Trump want him to do. So New York is about to get real Rizzo. For those who know who Rizzo is, Frank Rizzo, a horrible mayor, the worst mayor in Philadelphia history. And then, of course, I would say Wilson Good is the second, because we're not going to forget what he did with the move bombing. The first black mayor of Philadelphia is the second worst mayor in Philadelphia history. Yeah, I said it. Let's move on. So, yes, New York was great for the food and Abel and Senna and their lovely engagement. Hotel, So before I did that, on Saturday, I celebrated Tori. Tori is one of our darling lip brother, George, Dr. George Banks Weston, if you're nasty. Dr. Geo, or Geo, of course. His sister Tori had her 30th birthday party, and she had a birthday brunch at Royal Boucherie, in Old City. And I like Royal Boucherie. It was one of the spots the Lip Brothers had our first happy hours. Our first one was at the Wayward, but Royal Boucherie was right after that. And I remember the oysters and the cocktails. And so it was a great return to form. It was a great birthday brunch bash. It was like wonderful food just being passed, and it was a nice spread, and it was charcuteries, and it was food. It was burgers and French toast and mini burger sliders and an open bar that was grand. And it was beautiful. The indoor, outdoor, the upstairs. It was a beautiful 30th birthday situation. And I will say this. One thing I learned from my good pal, my good lip brother, Gio, is that people are doing that now, a birthday brunch. Like their celebration, their main celebration is a birthday brunch vibe compared to like a late night dinner, esque situation. I'm not fully there yet. I think I'm still, young enough to want to do a late night or evening gathering of sorts. But this has been a trend. He did this for his birthday about a year ago. George did his birthday at the Twisted Tail, but it was a daytime brunch fun day Saturday situation. And maybe that might be a trend for people to consider. Not everyone, not myself, because I'm still not there yet. I just can't imagine. I mean, I can't see myself doing it, but I actually like that other people are doing it, because then I can celebrate two birthdays at once. Like I can do the brunch situation and then and celebrate with one friend, do one big old birthday for one friend, and then for those friends that like to do the evening situations, which is what I do, I could do two birthdays in one day versus having to do pick and choose, because that's a lot. So I kind of like this. Folks that like brunches and daytime things, please do it. Don't think you have to do a dinner if you're not a dinner person or you don't want to do a dinner. Or for budgeting purposes, it might be affordable to do a larger scale brunch party vibe. And so I like this idea, because brunch food and breakfast food typically, if you're trying to do a huge party for a huge head count, it's more affordable to do it that way than do a massive dinner situation. Because as I'm already preparing for Mr. Johnson's big 30th birthday, can you believe that he turns 30 in February? I'm planning some things out for him, and it's going to be a dinner. It's going to be all the things. It's going to be a whole thing. But I'm getting all the, things coordinated for that to make that happen. I mean, for the most part, it's already there. Invitations will be going out. And just let me give y'all a heads up. It's his party. So, all of my friends is looking at me like, oh, I want to go. I want to invite him. I'm just like, I want to go. I'm like, child, it's not my party. Mr. Johnson does not share all of my friends. So if you're not there, it's not my party. I told him, tell me who you want at your party, boo. It's your birthday bash. And of course, there's some overlap, but not that much overlap. So this is his party. I am the sponsor. I'm throwing a party for him. So it's gonna be epic. But it's gonna be great, because I told him, what do you want? What's your flavor? What's your vibe? And then I made the vibe happen. So it's gonna be crazy. And this is so nice. So I'm in a position where I can just throw a party for my man and just not even care about how much it costs. Just whatever you want to do, baby. Whatever you want. I mean, listen, he just really showed out for my birthday, and it really put some. I was like, oh goodness, how it's not that I don't know if I can top it, but I was like, what can I do? How can I turn this out? So I've found that turnout. I found that thing that what would embody a great time for him. Because that's the thing. When you throw something, you give someone a gift. You don't give a gift that you want for yourself. You give a gift that they want, what they like, because that's what it's about. It's for them. And so I think about that when I plan things for friends, for folks, whatever it is. With him, I was like, this isn't my birthday. I'm not going to be a Will Smith, Jada Pinkett. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you didn't read those books, because some of y'all probably didn't read them books. But Will Smith talks about how he threw, I think it was a 40th birthday, if I'm not mistaken. It was a big milestone birthday for Jada. I want to say 40th, but I could be wrong. But he threw a birthday party for her, and it was a big milestone birthday, and he basically threw the party that he would have threw himself. And even though it was her, it was a birthday party for her, it was not things and elements that she would have wanted for her own taste. But he was thinking of himself. And he said he felt like such a jerk, when he looks back and reflect on how he was so arrogant or so self-centered. And I said to myself, well, he's a Libra. That makes sense. I could see how he was going and what he was trying to do. But he also recognized that he wasn't thinking of her. And so that stuck with me. I remember that he talked about that in his book. And I was like, wow, that's a very, that, sometimes in the midst of trying to put something together, you're thinking about what you would want to do, what you like. And it's not about you in that regard. And so when I do things, I'm very attentive to what my friends like and what they want. Even with gifts, like I think about, the things that I see them talk about or hint at, or what I think will be something that they would enjoy and prefer. So yeah. So I am crafting a party that is of his liking and his taste. And, putting all the bells and whistles and all the fun things on it. And it's working out. So for those who will hear from him, he'll send out the invitation things. You'll look at it and go, yeah, that's a very Mr. Johnson thing. So I'm excited for it. I also had quite the experience. Other things I've done before I get to this big event, because I know some of y'all are going to be like, well, what about that? I'm going to talk about it. I'm saving the best for last. Level 2, which you're like, what's level 2? So Bacon, you all know the black-owned restaurant in South Philly. They're known for their bacon, dishes and all the great jazz over there. Their upstairs has finally been renovated. It's going to be this lovely event space called Level 2. They're going to do some really cool private parties, big events, all types of fun, exciting things happening. So the Lit brother, with the exception of our guy, Josh, went. The three of us went, and it was a fabulous time. We love Justin and Kelvin, who are the two owners. They put on a really nice upstairs party. There was some interesting guests there. They have a guy who does PR for them. Why am I like this? I don't care much for the guy who does their PR, but I say all that to say the event was lovely. There was some fun guests that popped up. Alex Holly was there. She's awesome. Also, Mike and Alex were there. But they both came separately. So I saw Mike later on that evening, but Alex came by for the first half, and then she had another event to go to. But that's fam. So she was cute. She was there. Who else was there that I liked? Because there was a lot of people there. There were definitely people that I did not like. Who did I like that was there? Oh, the guy from Black and Mobile, one of the twins who from Black and Mobile, he was there. He's so cool. They're identical twins and they're so adorable. But one of the twins was not there, but he was there. I don't know which one, but he was there and he was really cool. Raheem Manning, who's a nightmare, who's also my frat brother. He was there. Every time I see him now, I think of my good Judy, Dr. Parks, and how she's like, always like, look, Mr. Nightmare, do you be having recommendations or not? I was like, what you out here doing to improve the city's nightlife? Because, she will remind me. She's been telling me, like, every time she took her girls down to Philly, stuff was closed, things wasn't open. She felt embarrassed to be an ambassador for Philly. But that's what she gets. She don't tell me anything about where she want to go. She want to go to Hella Basics. I'm like, I could have told you that was not open. The kids don't go there anymore, girl. They go here, go there. Don't go anywhere. But, she wanted to map out her own experience, her night, because, but baby, I am really the mayor of Philadelphia. Because, I am my good girl Nina says, I'm the king of Philly. Listen, I know the Philly scene. And so, for folks around my age and my sophistication. Now, listen, you looking for these sweaty hood, ratchet ass, little nightclubs and hole in the walls. Baby, I don't know about that. But if you're talking about VIP sections, nice rooftops, great drinks and cocktails, a place that's going to stay open for a decent hour, that's going to do it grown and sexy, I'm your guy. I'm your guy for that. But for other stuff, I don't know. I don't know where like I'm not, some of these places, they're like, oh, you know this nightclub? What nightclub? What kind of club? Does it have a section? If it does not, I'm not there. I'm just look, I got look, I'm not just anyone. I can't just be running to these sweat places. And also, I will be honest with you all. Look, COVID has done a number. Um, and I, I don't know, my sense of smell, all of my senses are definitely popping. Like, I feel like my body is just really good. The sense of alertness, you know, all of the, evolution, I've gotten snatched and everything. I just feel like I smell things more. I see things clearer. I feel like everything, my senses are on a high alert. So like, I feel like when I go out, my tolerance around must, bad breath, it just heightens now. And so I don't know. I don't know what that means. But it just, when I go out now, I'm just like, oh, ooh, ooh, ooh. you know? Like I'm just like, I need to be places where people wear cologne and good perfume and people are not so sweaty and sticky and just, germs. And I'm not a germaphobe, y'all. I mean, but I just, I just have gotten to a space where I don't want to walk into things that I know I'm going to regret instantly. Like, you ever know, like, you're going to walk somewhere, you're going to go in something, and you're like, I'm going to be annoyed. You know how you just know, like, oh, this isn't going to hit. I just know it's not going to hit. I just know. Like, I know. Like, my sense is telling me this is going to be a waste of my time. And while I cannot 100% prevent that in all cases, in certain cases, you just know. And if you have the choice to avoid the situation, avoid it. Like movies. Like, I just don't watch anything by Tyler Perry at this point. I don't. I refuse. I'm not going to watch a Tyler Perry show, movie. Don't ask me to, because I know it's going to be trash. And do I have the bandwidth and the time to waste watching something I know is going to annoy me or just not be of interest to me at all? Correct. Which is why I don't watch sports. I guess the Eagles won recently, I keep up a score, but unless I'm in a box at an arena or a stadium somewhere and there's snacks and there's drinks and I can just look at it like a gay who doesn't really know how it works, that's how I am. I'm just going to be like, oh, they're winning. Great. Okay, let me keep eating. Like, I've just got it. I'm at that age where I know what I like and I know what I don't like. I don't like traveling unless I have like a bag or a strong purpose to go. Like, I don't like traveling. I don't. It's always been within me, but people are just like, oh, let's just go do this thing. I'm just like, you want to take flights and do all of that coordination? Do you know if you're going to like it or not? You're going to be annoyed? You did all that to go to the beach? There's better beaches nearby. Like, I'm that guy. I know. And some people will tell me that they know. But I'm just like, leisure? You're just going to take hours of your life on a flight to go somewhere for leisure? Like I tell y'all, vacation's a state of a mind. Maybe because I've seen so many people travel to all types of places to vacation and walk away annoyed. Maybe because I watched too much like Real Housewives when I was younger. And I just remember being like, you all did all of that traveling to go somewhere, be annoyed and get in fights and hate each other. Ugh. Maybe with my husband, I might. Sometimes, like, we went to Chicago. That was fun, right? Like, that was good. But we had a plan. We had an itinerary. We had things to do. I just don't want to just go to random cities and just not have a plan and just be hopping. It's like, no, no. So when I'm that friend and you're asking me like, oh, we should go, I'm just like, oh, maybe come on with a plan. Come on with a plan. Cause I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. I will create the ultimate staycation and rock that shit out. Yeah. I don't know. Like Martha's Vineyard is great. Like, I like to fly to Martha's Vineyard in August, but that's because I have a plan. I know what I'm doing. Reservations are made. There's an agenda. I know who's going to be there. There's going to be plans and fun and friends. Like, when I go to LA for the Grammys every year, I have a plan. I know who's going to be there. I got an itinerary. It's going to be fun. But like, I just, just randomly just going up in people's cities and countries and not knowing what the hell the plan is. Like, what? I'm just not that girl. Not me. Not me. And if you say I'm not adventurous, listen, I am adventurous. I'm adventurous where I'm at. This is isolationist era. Okay? But for better or for worse. Before I get into the Harvest Moon Ball, which of course was like the apple of my eye this week,
I went to Cuba Libre, and fell in love with Cuba Libre a lot. Um, I hadn't been to Cuba Libre in a long time, but I was invited to attend. I went with a good friend of mine, and we tried the 5 course menu that's there. It's called A Taste of Havana. And it's brand new, 5 courses, and you get all of it for under $50. It's $49 per person, which is like basically $50 per person. I just think they want to have the four on it, but like it's basically $50. $50 per person, and it's everything. I mean, you get to try Cuban dishes. Like, I mean, you get the empanadas, you get plantains, you get chips, plantain chips with all the various dips. You get to try the citrus flavored pork. Um you get flan, you get tres leches cake, you get all of the things, all the things. I really enjoyed it. It was impressive. So impressive that it's inspired me to do something with that menu. Um, but I hadn't been to Cuba Libre in a long ass time. And I was like, why do I not come here a lot? And I realized it was because it's an old city. I live in West Philly. So to make the commitment to go all the way to Old City from West Philly, and y'all like, child, that ain't that long. Listen, mentally, here's the thing. Part of it is that if Cuba Libre was much closer to where I am, it would be a place that I would go to probably like once a month or like every other month, because it is very good and it's very consistently good. I really do like it, but I really love their menu there. Cuba Libre's menu is the bomb. But that tasting menu at that value, at that rate, is, you can't beat that. You really cannot beat that. That is a good tasting menu. That is great portion. The portion sizes are great. You could really eat your way through there. Like I was like, yo, that was, in this day and age, in this economy, that is definitely an impressive menu. I just wanted to speak that. I just want to give that a shout out and name that, because I was very impressed. So back to my traveling with Cuba Libre. So I think happens to me with a lot of these restaurants is that's why I've been circling the block, because there's so many new restaurants popping up in Philly that I sometimes forget about the institutions. Like Cuba Libre, there is a Cuba Libre in DC. It is like a smaller niche boutique chain restaurant. Not like a Olive Garden or anything like that, but there's a couple of locations, but there is one in DC. I haven't been to that one, but the one in Philadelphia has been iconic. It's been around as long as I've been in Philly. So it's been around for over a decade. And so when you can see a restaurant stay open for that long, that's a testament. You know what I'm saying? When I think about Budokan, 25 years of Budokan, more Morimoto, over 20 years of Morimoto. Park, these are institutions. Like, they've been around the test of time. Georgia on Pine, baby. Like, these are restaurants that been open for over a decade, some 2 decades. Like, these are institutions. That is a testament, right? But sometimes people like myself, right? Like Vetri Cucina, right? Vetri Cucina has been around for over 25 years. Legendary restaurants. But sometimes you can take them for granted because you're like, look, I got to go to new restaurants. You've always been around. Fork has been around for 20 something years. These are institutional restaurants. The fact that they stayed through the millennium, like, they've been around this entire century. They've been around through the pandemic, through the Trump era. They gonna hopefully survive this Trump era. They've been around through the Obama era. They've been around through the Bush years. I mean, like, that is saying something. That no matter what was going on in our economy, people still showed up to these restaurants. That's something. That's they're the OGs. Okay, those are institutions. Those are restaurants that just, they've stood the test of time. Mad props to them. So, Cuba Libre is one of those restaurants, and I feel like I haven't been there. Like I'm thinking about Continental. Man, Steven Starr. Shout out to Steven Starr, keeping restaurants open like that. Restaurants that are older than my middle brother, who is 21. Like, there's restaurants in Philadelphia older than him, and a lot of them are Steven Starr restaurants. Shout out to Steven Starr. But just, I just sometimes, can find myself feeling like, oh, they'll be there, and not going. So thank you, Cuba Libre, for inviting me to come back and check you all out and what y'all got going on. And we will be back very, very soon. Wink, wink. Um, And lastly, before I move on to these political issues of the era, um, Harvest Moonball, my chapter, the Mighty Road chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We celebrate our 110th anniversary of our charting, which was on Election Day on November 3rd, 1914. 110 years. I was the esteemed chairman of the Harvest Moonball, which had not been around until now. It made its return after over 20 years of not happening because, people just didn't, know how to bring it into the modern era. And now it's back and bigger and grander than ever. Hundreds of people came. Hundreds, plural. It was packed. The open bar was open until it was no longer open because so many people got their drink on. The food was fooding. The food was great. It was just beautiful. Just beautiful. I mean, 90% of the black men that were there were in tuxedos, which was awesome. We love to see it. There were also some fashion choices. Some people came in capes. One person in particular. Lovely gowns, beautiful gowns, and no shade to the gowns. The women were gorgeous. Everyone just dressed to impress. It was a very beautiful, swanky affair. An incredible presentation ceremony that was very succinct and brief. I gave really great remarks. It was so funny because when I went up and spoke, my husband was like, I don't know who that man was that was at the podium. I just become the trade when I go up to the podium and speak when I'm at these fraternity events. I become the trade, honey. I just become, let me be quiet. But I went up and did a great speech, and it was, our president and my good friend, my LB, not lit brother, line brother, but also my line bestie is what I call him. He did a great presentation on the history of our esteemed chapter, which we're the only single letter alumni chapter within our esteemed fraternity. And it was a great event. It was so much fun. Shout out to all of my line brothers who came and supported and showed up and showed out. I just really think our line is just great. The 13 Pharaohs of Fire and Ice. We're just immaculate. We represented well. We did our big one. And I was just so happy to throw an event and be able to pull this together with the support of my committee and do all of this work. And a lot of you are like, oh, you just really are into this. You're really into Alpha World. I mean, you just got in, you just shaking things up. Of course. Listen, let me take a moment real quick to gather some of you all. No shade. But if I'm going to invest anything that I'm a part of, anything that I'm a member of, anything that I join, anything that I invest my time, money, energy, efforts into, of course I'm going to be active in it. I'm baffled by some people that join organizations and then get in and then never show up. And this is no shade to anyone in particular. I'm just thinking myself, why would you join an organization and you're not going to be actively engaged? Especially if you pay dues, you invest a level of time to do interviews and everything in between. Why just say you're a member and then don't actually be active? I just don't get that. But there's people that do that. They just, they're like, oh, I'm a part of this just because, they want to pad their resumes or pad their Instagrams. But I'm just kind of like, Like, I don't know. I'm just a different type of girl. I don't know. Like, I just feel like if you're going to be a member, be a member. And I say this as a leader of several membership-based organizations. Like, y'all know I'm the president of the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists. I'm on the national board of the SPJ Foundation. Like, I just care a lot about, like, activeness. And I sometimes, as someone who's been through many nonprofit boards and have served on various capacities for over a decade now at this point, in some capacity, I've been on somebody's board for a decade. I just love to serve. I just love it. I just love being in leadership. Like, I just feel like great ideas, making stuff last, that's what we do. But I just kind of feel like if you're not going to commit something, like show up and be engaged and be active, like come to things on time, pay your dues. How do you rep an organization and you're not involved in anything? Especially if you're like a new person to the group. Like, show the fuck up. Like, why? Why be a part? I'm not talking about any group in particular. I'm just talking about in general, like life in general. I just think sometimes I'm just like, people just wear the t-shirts and wear the t-shirts and wear everything else and do all the other stuff. And I'm just kind of like, what is that for? What is the reason? What's the rationale for that? You know what I mean? Just yeah. You know, I always tell people that, just be more thoughtful, be more mindful, be more demure. That's my word of advice. So, moving along. The event overall was a smash hit. There was live music. There was a live band, and we had a DJ, and we had an ice sculpture, which was just gorgeous. Yeah, shout out to it was just such a great time. I just love Black events, like Black institutional events, like history, culture, sophistication. I just love stuff like that. Words can't describe the level of joy I get in seeing our people celebrating, just being in a place of peace and serenity and not thinking about the rest of the world. And so I guess these last 2 weeks, having galas after this election has been just a great time because in many ways it's allowed for me to be in these very, 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 very Black spaces, but have joy and happiness and just take my mind off of all the other nonsense. I feel like sometimes, regardless of what kind of work you do, whether you're a journalist, whether you're whatever, it's almost like white supremacy robs you of the ability to relax and have leisure and have joy. Like it almost forces you to always be on the edge. And there's oftentimes people will try to demand your labor emotionally and physically in certain situations where it's like, no, I actually deserve to actually be able to live my life and give a fuck, but also not give a fuck sometimes because my life is not indebted to not having joy. Because if you don't have pleasure, you don't experience that, then what the hell is why do we do what we do if we don't get a chance to enjoy the fruits of our labor or harvest? Like, I think there's some people who just have, and I've had to distance myself from some folks where it's just like, you have no chill. You don't know how to have a good time. You just feel like you always have to be worried about something, complaining. Like, I just don't like to be around people that they're always hyper obsessed and focused about what they need to be doing and what they're not doing. I'm not saying Hakuna Matata. I'm not saying good vibes only. I'm not saying that because, listen, life be lifing. But if you're in a moment, be in the moment. Like, if you're at a party, be at the party. If you're at a dinner, be at dinner. If you're at whatever you're at, be present. I think that's the thing. Be present. And if you cannot be present, then don't be present. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like sometimes there are people who just don't know the art of gratitude. I feel like gratitude has been one of my strongest virtues. Like, I just feel like if you're not grateful, if you don't know how to practice the art of being grateful for things, expressing gratitude, then you're a horrible person. I'm sorry. I'm just can't. I feel like that is a strong virtue. We talk about loyalty. We talk about loyalty all the time. Yes, loyalty. Loyalty is important, right? We don't want backstabbers. But I also think gratitude has been a strong virtue. Patience is important too. Patience is also a virtue. But gratitude has been a strong one for me this past year. Not even within myself, because I am big on gratitude. Like, I'm very grateful. And I think for a lot of reasons in my life, just the passing of people have put that in perspective for me, all kind of things. The pandemic really brought that into me. Like, I think post-pandemic, in the pandemic, whatever you want to say, gratitude has been the number one thing that I've been leaning on heavily, of just being grateful for my circumstances and just how I've been fortunate in so many other aspects of my life. I can spend all day talking about what pisses me off, what's not working in certain areas, what needs of this, what needs of that. But I find myself being like, you know what, whenever I'm frustrated about right the fuck now, in 2 years, maybe a month from now, it's not even gonna fucking matter. It's not. A lot of times, some of the stuff that y'all just, some of y'all harp on, I'm like, 2 years from now, it is not going to fucking matter. Whether it's a job, an internship, an application, a this, an acceptance letter, everybody just be frustrated and shit. I'll be like, okay, but then what's going to fucking happen? Because sometimes I really want to say, okay, and what's going to happen? You're going to fail. The world's going to collide. You're going to be a fucking failure. But you got friends, though. You got to boo. Your friends, your family going to let you fucking fail. You're just going to completely flop. But you got friends and a support system. So fucking be grateful. Because there are people in the world that don't have a support system. They don't have friends. They don't have a lover. They don't have family. They don't have anything. And they're trying to navigate how to make it through. They're trying to navigate how to make it through. And so when I hear people just vent and whine and bitch all the fucking time about like shit that just don't matter or don't matter as much, I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't care. Because I just have recognized that the people that do that the most are people that are actually progressing in their careers, in their life, and they're just being impatient about their circumstances. And I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, you go do that with a therapist or yourself. But I can't, I just can't. It's a killjoy. Look, it's always a good time to vent about some things in life. Let me be very clear. Lord knows I vent a lot about things. But I have a new policy I've been doing for the past year where if I'm annoyed about a particular situation, I typically let it out around the time it goes on. I say, like, let me cook. I was with some of my friends and there was some situation. I said, look, I'm going to cook on something about a situation. I'm going to get it off today. But next week, tomorrow, y'all not gonna hear nothing from me about it. I'm just gonna talk about this thing now. There was an event that I went to recently, and there was some bullshit that was taking place, and I was annoyed about it. And I was like, I'm not gonna hold y'all. I need to let y'all know how I felt about this situation. It involved them, but it was just some other stuff that was happening. And I was like, I'm going to say everything I want to say and go off. And I promise you that you will not hear the same exact whatever I'm saying right now. I'm annoyed today. Tomorrow I'll be all right. I just like to get it out the way. That's how I typically am about situations. Like I can get pissed off, but let me be pissed off. I really can't stand people who are very much, oh, look at me just going off in this tirade, but I feel like it's on my chest, so I'm gonna put it on the table. And y'all gonna pick up what I'm putting down because I feel like y'all can relate, right? Right. Mm-hmm. I feel like what annoys me is the people who are very much like, they say, open up to me, tell me how you feel, but then when you start really going in and you really expressing that, they go, it was great, it was good, don't worry about it was awesome. Like, nah, I know all of that, but I'm still want to say this though. Let me say this right now. And then once I say this, I've said it, and I can go on. But I just don't like the people that like to smother folks from being able to not express. Because it is healthy to let out and express, disappointment or frustrations or whatever it is with something. But make sure it's clear, put a name on it, be specific, get it out, let it be known, and then move on. See, what happens is when you fake the funk and you're just like, everything's... It builds, it simmers, and then eventually it spills over. It's not a good way to do things. It's not healthy. It's not a healthy way to do things. But there's also ways to do things, right? But I just feel like it's best to get things off your chest in the moment, in a productive manner, in a safe space. Don't necessarily need to go out in public and show your ass. That's what I used to do back then. I used to take it to Twitter, take it to Facebook. This years ago. Not as much anymore. I mean, now I share certain things that I think is worthy of the public's attention, but I'm very thoughtful about the time and place of things. But once I get it out, I'm not harboring on it, and just going to keep it settled. I like to, because I feel like that's just my way of doing things. I don't like to just, death by 1,000 cuts. I don't like to just keep getting disrespected, keep getting cut, keep getting screwed over, and then eventually, spill over. No, I don't believe in that. That's my thing. That's my set of beliefs. And, I feel like that's my idea, for sure. I also think a good one, some other thoughts that came to mind for me. would be, I would say, knowing the people to talk to share your thoughts with. I'll say that. Knowing the crowd, knowing the group, because not every group is the space. But whatever your friend circle is, or a certain group of friends, knowing where the channel or share whatever your thoughts are about something too is important. Just knowing your crowd. Read the room. I love to tell people that read the room. Read the room. For sure. But yeah, that's my weekend. And also, I need to say this because I have a lot of Capricorns in my life. And they listen to my podcast, of course. But the weekend of January 9th through the 12th, whatever that weekend is, in January, I will be in New York City again. But this time I'll be staying at a Marriott hotel because I will not be staying anywhere else. But there is I have some important business. I cannot disclose the information. I know I suck at this, right? But I have some big news happening that weekend in New York, and I have to be there, and I will not be around. So to all the folks, all the Capricorns throwing birthdays or plans, if there are plans happening that weekend, I will not be able to be there because I will be in New York City for some very important business that will be public, and it will be all over the internet. It'll be national, it'll be the talk of the streets for sure. And so I have been told I have to clear my calendar. My tickets, my hotel's been booked. I'll be there in New York January 9th, January 10th, which is my mother's birthday, January 11th. I think I'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I'll be exiting out on that Sunday, that whole weekend of January. So I know all of my friends, Dr. Parks, I know her birthday's right after my mom's birthday. Anybody's doing anything on that weekend, I will not be able to attend. So, there's other things, other plans before the weekend before, that's always open. But yes, I've been summoned. But it's very good news. It's good. It's very good. And I really cannot not be at this thing. I have to be there. So I can't skip. But I want to put that out there. And also to my listeners, stay tuned for what goes down in that January. 2025, I'm coming into 2025 with a bang. Like 2025, I thought 2024 was great. 2024 was phenomenal. Let me just say that. But 2025 is shaping up to be something legendary. Okay? We're a quarter into this century and things are beginning to heat up. So I would just put that out there before I talk too much and say anything that I can't say. So let me move forward. So let's get into this election. Let's get into the latest in politics in DC. You all have been DMing me stuff all week, which I appreciate, but So the cabinet, Trump's kangaroo court cabinet. I'm not surprised. Are we surprised? Is anyone surprised? Please don't say you're surprised. Please don't say you're shocked. Because if you do, you can just log off this podcast or don't unsubscribe. Just exit now. Anybody who's been following this podcast since its inception, like nearly 5 years ago, it's been 4 years. It's been about 4 years. We're about to be 4 years come January. 7 seasons. We're doing our big one, right? Anyone who's been listening to this podcast should know that there is no surprise about anything that Trump is doing. The audacity, I guess, might surprise some of you all, but it really shouldn't, because this is Trump part 2. So all of that should have been Trump part 1, all the shocking shit, okay? We passed that. This man is saying what he's going to do, and he's doing what he's saying. This man has Robert Kennedy Jr. overseeing our fucking health. Like, there you go, y'all. But the man talking about they're going to take fluoride out of water, drinking water. Okay, so y'all about to have scurvy or something. Y'all teeth going to fall out. I don't know what y'all about to do. But he's taking fluoride up out of the drinking water. So I guess I'm going to just listen. For people like me who have toothpaste and toothbrush and and have fluoride in my mouthwash, I mean, we're going to figure out, we're going to be all right. I mean, we'll see if he actually do that or not. But it's just a kangaroo It's just a kangaroo court of a cabinet. Okay, it is the most incompetent people on the face of the planet. Just a joke, for sure. Um, but I'm not, um, where I'm at with it. I'm just like, at this point, all you can do, is laugh. All you can do is laugh at this part at this point, because, um, we're not gonna cry. What's the word? What my girl say? I'm not gonna cry. I'm not. Listen, listen. It is a lot. It is a lot to do. And I just want people to just brace yourselves. But we see a lot of the craziness and the trends that takes place with Trump. I mean, these appointments. But I want to say this before I get into one of the spicier picks. I mean, he's got Elena Stefanik or whatever. She's UN ambassador, so they're just gonna keep giving a woman, like they had Nikki Haley initially, but she out the loop. He done cut Nikki Haley all the way off. But now you got Elena Stefanik, who's a congresswoman from New York state. She's now going to be the UN ambassador. He's got a 27-year-old white woman who's going to now be the press secretary, the first ever the youngest press secretary in American history. This woman looks like 27 years old. She was the current spokesperson for Trump, so I guess she's prepared for the shit show that's going to happen these next 4 years. I also want to add before I go ham, because we gonna talk about Mr. Matt Gaetz, because Mr. Matt Gaetz deserves his own conversation. Byron Donalds and Tim Scott locked out, baby, locked out. This cabinet got Ramaswamy and all that. Elon Musk is overstaying his stay over there in Mar-a-Lago. Apparently, Elon Musk, they about to do something on government efficiency. Dumb and Dumber running efficiency. This is a new office, child. They didn't create a new office of government efficiency. They ain't never had that before. Trump's cabinet got new positions, random positions, people not qualified positions. You know why this makes me laugh though? Because I'm going all over the place. But let me say this real quick. Byron Donalds, this is the black congressman from Florida, and of course Senator Tim Scott, okay, from the Carolinas, right? What gets me about these two is that they've been shucking and jiving for Trump longer than many people have. And yet and still, they couldn't get their ass a cabinet seat. He has no black people in his cabinet. And the reason why I'm laughing at this and why this is all funny to me is because we have all these conversations about affirmative action and DEI. But the reason why white people don't like diversity, equity, inclusion is because when you don't have diversity, you don't have actual qualified folks running shit. The gag is that when you don't have DEI in these departments, you don't have qualified people, because here's the joke. Most of the time when there's DEI, quote unquote, hires, these people are actually more qualified. They're actually qualified. They're not hired because they're black. They're actually hired because they're qualified. When you don't hire qualified people, you don't have black people, because black people oftentimes are qualified for these goddamn jobs. And they're actually more qualified than they need to be often because of the racial bias. It's the white folks in these positions that you got to be worried about, because why are you here? The only reason why Trump is picking these people because he's trying to dodge diversity. I mean, I remember when they had Ben over there, his crazy ass. I remember that hire back in the day when he had him over the housing secretary for Trump. Ben Carson's ass. Ben Carson, where you at now? He done disappeared. I'm like, where did Ben Carson go? Ben Carson's still alive. He's 78 years old. I mean, 73 years old. But, he was over the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. So I'm just looking at this like, well, who's going to be, the new guy? Who's going to be the new person? Because all of that's happening. And there's a lot of conversations to be had. So, it's something to think about. Because I'm like, Tim Scott, you a senator. You got people running departments that ain't been senators or nothing. I mean, Tim Scott, I just knew you got the wife. You got your wife now. You done did all the things to get the checkoff list, and they still didn't put you on. Byron Donalds, they was thinking about you as a potential VP pick at one point in time. You didn't even, of course you wasn't going to get that, but damn, they couldn't even put you on the cabinet. But when you play stupid prizes, you play silly games, you win stupid prizes. And that's what's happened for them. And they still on TV trying to act like Trump is the guy, like they got a future. It's like Trump didn't put nobody who ran against him for president into any cabinet positions. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. It's been very telling. It's been very telling. I mean, he got Tulsi Gabbard's ass, that backstabber. She running the national intelligence. It's a mess. But I want to talk about Matt Gaetz because Matt Gaetz is an interesting character on so many fronts. So Matt Gaetz, former Congressman Matt Gaetz, as of this weekend, he just recently resigned because now Trump is trying to nominate Matt Gaetz. Yes, Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida, former Congressman. He had to resign. He just resigned to now become the Attorney General. A man was at a certain point investigated for potential, child sex trafficking allegations, all kind of allegations about him. This man has had a bunch of allegations and being investigated by the ethics committee, and the investigation was still going on. Now, let me tell y'all some things. Republicans hold the majority of the Senate, which means that because they have the majority of the Senate, they will be able to be in charge of of basically approving any of these appointments. Matt Gaetz is a problem. A lot of people are okay with some of these picks, but there are some Republicans who are not feeling Matt Gaetz, and they just don't like him. But he's a Trump loyalist, but the Republican Party is not feeling him as a whole. Remember, Matt Gaetz was the problematic one that really held up. He didn't allow, Kevin McCarthy, who was then the Speaker of the House. He was, Matt Gaetz is one of the people that led the charge to ensure that that former Republican Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, did not get re-elected to that position. So they blocked him from being Speaker, and they finally settled on somebody. But we're hoping they don't have the House. But it's looking like Republicans are going to have the House again. Looks like Mike Johnson is going to have that from Louisiana. He's going to he's going to remain Speaker. It looks like potentially, but Matt Gaetz has now resigned. And, there's going to be a lot of special elections that's going to be coming up. But Kevin McCarthy, the former the Republican congressman, the former speaker, he said, and in one conference, basically was like, look, this guy came after me because there was an ethics committee about him, messing with underage, a 17-year-old girl or something like that, allegedly. So there's a lot going on over there, right? Well, to put this all into perspective, what's happening now? Well, now that he's resigned from Congress, the committee can no longer investigate him. We will never get that report. Apparently, that report was supposed to come out and be final by Friday. The report is no longer going to be public or seen because he no longer belongs to the people. Like, he's now technically a free agent, which means the report cannot see the light of day. It will not be public at this point because, he's not relevant to the House anymore. So the House cannot, the investigation, all that is concluded. So we will not find out. How fucking convenient. If he becomes the pick for the AG, that investigation is no longer relevant because it goes into the House's department. And even Mike Johnson and others have said, like, move on from it. They don't want to pursue it. They're not going to pursue it. The inquiry is going to probably stop because Republicans hold everything down. Even these federal, DOJ investigations into Trump, they're dead at this point because, we all know that, Jack is going to, who was a special counsel, whatever, he's going to resign at the end of this year. They're not going to pick him. Trump's not going to pick him. A sitting U.S. president, as you all know, will not be able to have a DOJ investigation on them while they're currently serving. Remember, some of you all who not knowing on this podcast, but remember, the whole reason why Trump really wanted to be in the White House is not because he really cared about running the country, but really because he wanted to cover himself from this legal scrutiny. Had Trump not been elected, he would have went down, down, down. There might be some cases still going up against him, but they're pretty much going to fall at this point because he's the president of the United States, and retribution, retaliation, all the things above is going to play. So Trump's not going to jail, y'all. I don't see him going to jail. I mean, we'll find some outcomes maybe from some juries. He might be found guilty of some shit, but honestly, it doesn't fucking matter. The whole point of why the trials were supposed to happen initially, I believe, was to really get him caught up in behind bars before he could even make an actual run for the seat. That's not happening now. Like, the man's won the election. It's a wrap. Like, that's going out the window. So Democrats want to drag their feet. Our current AG, Merrick Garland, who's just become a complete disappointment of an AG. Like, dude, what was the point? What was the point? I mean, goodness. Could you imagine he was on the Supreme Court? If Obama had his way, he was on the Supreme Court. I don't know how that man would have voted on the Supreme Court. Because it just seemed like these, like, just so scary. So, like, what's the point? What's the fucking point? Like, what's the need to have Democrats when, enemies in the Democratic Party? What's the need of Republicans when we got Democrats who's just going to fuck us over anyway? Like, it's just no backbone, no aggression, no stance. Too weak, okay? They didn't lose the election because people didn't vote for Kamala. That was Democrats. They lost the election because Democrats were so over, they didn't even show up. 15 million people did not show up to the polls. Had more Democrats show up to the polls in certain areas in battleground states, Kamala would have won some because people just were not inspired anymore. Because there was no sharp. Listen, I will stay with my logic that Biden should have dropped out much sooner. And that's why I was hesitant for him to drop out, because I figured it was not going to be enough time. And also not enough. It just wasn't enough time to flesh this out. Honestly, what should have happened in retrospect, Biden should have dropped out or announced he wasn't going to run for re-election maybe in December. There should have been a very competitive Democratic primary. We would have found out who would have gotten it. Maybe it would have been Kamala, maybe it wasn't. Who knows? Let the voters decide. And then what would have happened at that point is that we would have had an easier opportunity to see who we would have had enough resources, enough opportunity that whoever would have won that seat would have been able to distance themselves from Biden in a certain way. I don't know if Kamala would have won the primary. I'm not 100% certain. We don't know. But whoever would have won, they would have had to listen to what the voters wanted. Because at that point, it would have not been up in the air around strategy. So, that's where my head is at now. Look, my mind is going to evolve through time. But that's what I'm thinking now based on what I'm reading, what I'm seeing, what I'm observing in these battleground states. I think we just needed to have a different candidate. And I think actually primary voters would have probably voted for something that was not part of the administration. I think people just was not enthusiastic about this administration. And I know, yes, misogyny, sexism, all that. But I also think people just was not feeling this administration for various reasons. Some of it was misguided and misinformed. But I just think what people really want is a leader with conviction. A leader that is going to be 10 toes down on business, whether it's right or wrong. We just need some more conviction. Not convicted. I mean, Trump is convicted and has conviction. Get it? But we just need a little bit more solid stand on it. People just want leaders that's going to stand on it. Just pick a side. I think that's what annoys me about leaders. Certain leaders, is I'm looking at certain leaders that I work with in different capacities, and some of them, not everybody, but just like stop being ambivalent. Stop being undecided all the fucking time. You was elected to serve, make tough decisions, stand by those decisions, be transparent, communicate. Okay? That's delegate. That's what it is. That's what leaders do. One thing about my leadership that I've gotten better at, and I've been for a minute, because I've vicariously have learned from others, that one thing about me, I'm going to have a vision, I'm going to have a plan, and I'm going to stand 10 toes down on my positions. And if I decide to change my mind, best believe there's going to be a lot of processing and a lot of rationale and explanation for it. But there's going to be confidence and competence no matter what. That's how I serve as a leader. That's how I do it. That's how I run. If I can't lead like that, I don't want it. I don't lead with fear. I don't lead in inferiority. I don't lead in incompetence. I don't lead in mess. I don't lead in bullshit. I don't lead in confusion. I just don't. That's not how I lead. And if I'm in spaces that operate like that, I eradicate it and call it out immediately. Yeah, baby, I whistle blow. If it's some bullshit, I'm calling it out. But that's just what we need. I think we're in an era where people want leaders to lead again. Okay? Let me know what you want to do. What's your plan? What's your vision? Galvanize people, motivate and inspire people, give people something to show up for, give people something to celebrate, give people something to fight for. Whatever it is, motivate the people, set a standard, and have people rise to it and guide them to it. That's what leaders do. Leaders are not the people that say no or nay to everything or be the first to be the one to be cynical. Now, cynicism is healthy. But they're not the people, leaders are not the people that are from the jump say it's not possible. They're the ones who try to envision and imagine a possibility that is strategic and practical. If it's not, it's not. But they're not the ones that say, we can't do this, we can't do that, that won't happen off the jump. They're the ones that say, yes, or this sounds like a good idea, let me get back to you. They explore the option first. And then they turn around and then arrive at a conclusion. But what do I know? What do I know? I'm just a young bull out here trying to make a way for myself. But leadership matters more than ever now. And I think that is what the Democrats struggle with. And I think Trump doesn't struggle in some aspects with it, but I think he's going to come into another problem, which is what I bring this out. So Matt Gaetz is the attorney general pick. That's what the energy is right now. Everybody want him to, he's got nominated from Trump. Republicans are not really feeling it. Here are some of the problems that might happen. Will this appointment go through? We'll find out. I mean, there's this conversation around maybe they could skip the hearings and do a recess appointments, but apparently there's some type of law rule that they can backfire that because these hearings are going to be quite interesting and quite telling. Republicans are not really feeling Matt Gaetz, especially for a role like attorney general. Now, there has been speculation that there are Republicans who do not like this because when he was on the Appropriations Committee, he was getting into the tea of these Congress people with their inside trading, allegations of inside trading, calling out other fellow Republican housemates that were in Congress that were doing interesting inside trading deals and getting stock during wars and conflicts. Oh, yes, it's a whole lot of tea. Matt Gaetz has receipts and knows some things about his fellow colleagues. And so I feel like he's the type of dude where he's like, look, I might have some dirt allegedly, but guess what? I got some receipts on y'all too. And I'm going to these ethics committees. I'm investigating some of these Republicans. He is not he's not a Republican's Republican, or they say girl's girl. He's not Republican's Republican, honey. He is very much not like that. And so when Matt Gaetz was in his tenure in Congress, he was very much an annoyance to what we would consider establishment Republicans that were not a part of the Trump faction. And that's what drove a lot of his beef. So in some ways, people admire him because he was very much one of those people that would call out these established Republicans and really shake them up. But also, he's a Trumper. So kudos, but no kudos, no props, because we also know that you're working in a certain way. He was a part of Team Drain the Swamp. Now, in this AG role, there's a possibility that now that his investigation has now been ended, because now he's resigned, he wants to become the AG. Will he become the AG? That's the question. Because let's be very clear, the girls are fighting, okay? And let me tell you the big sign the girls are fighting over there with the Republicans. Trump did not want Majority Leader John Thune of South Dakota to be the Senate Majority Leader. He got elected, okay, which is very telling because loyalty is what Trump wanted. Trump picked his loyalists for the top jobs, but the Senate GOP, the loyalty of the Senate GOP is not so much because it is very clear that was not his favorite pick. Trump wanted Senator Marco Rubio to be, is going to allegedly be his Secretary of State is who he wants, right? But people might say, could there be an opportunity that might change? There's conversation about Pete Hegseth, who's an Army vet that's been on Fox News. He's about to be the Secretary of Defense, possibly. But there's some people that feel like he's not necessarily the best. Tulsi Gabbard, as we all talked about earlier, former Democrat from Hawaii, independent, all that shit. Now she's about to be, potentially over the national intelligence. There's some interesting picks that Trump has made. It's very interesting because, somebody like, Majority Leader John Thune was not the kind of person that Trump wanted. And it's a lot of criticism. And people are surprised because, some of this, they said at least 4 of Trump's second term picks are considered a problem nominee. Will Republicans collectively support this decision? And he's going to need, I believe, like 2/3. Some of these appointments are going to need 2/3 to get the vote. Good luck, Trump. And I really don't mean that. I don't wish him luck. I'm being sarcastic. Let me be very clear. I think there's going to be some problems with these appointments. And I also think, to a certain extent, before I move on, because I do want to talk about something else that's going on, the Republicans are fighting each other, as we know. The girls are fighting, as we know. But also, there's something happening outside of Trump, right? The internet, right? A lot of Republicans and conservatives are online dunking. I was on a recent episode that's gotten over 1 million views on Piers Morgan. I made an appearance. And he had a bunch of Republicans. He had Tommy Lauren. He had these other 2 bro-y type conservative dudes or whatever. And he actually had one Democrat, a white guy, who's the guy over white dudes for Harris. He was on the call. And then, I'm not the call, but the show. I was on there. And then the British Candace Owens type girl, she's on there. That episode was annoying to me. I was annoyed with it because, Piers Morgan is he flip-flops. He's a flip-flopper. He's a grift of a host because he just really is going to go wherever the wind blows. But like, what was interesting about that conversation and what I've noticed a lot on the internet is that a lot of these conservatives are just so, like, I know they voted for Trump and I thought like, okay, maybe y'all would have, I guess, an ounce of maturity or like focusing on pushing Project 2025 or your agenda or just focus on that. But they seem to be so obsessed with just being like, woke. Now the wokies are mad. And they're just so hype about like progressives and Democrats losing that they're not even focused on their win. Like they're just so hype about, okay, now we can move on. The people have spoken, which half the country don't agree. But anyway, the people don't care. And so the conversation was about like, well, now can Hollywood, go back to whatever. It's like, why do you care about Hollywood? Why do you care about trans people at this point? Like, you got what you wanted. Like, my whole mindset, like, my voice on it was just like, you all have what you want. It's limited, mind you. Why are you so obsessed about Hollywood and about what the losing side is doing? Like, you won. You got what you wanted. Push your agenda. Get some shit done. Get your agenda done. Pop your shit. Like, do your thing. Like, why is there so much, like, analysis and episodes? Like, I told Pierce this. I was like, why are you so pressed about, like, spending your time dunking on liberals and progressives when you got what you wanted? Like, the whole argument before was, I get the era, like every era, right? And let me be very clear. Whoever's the winning party or the winning team will spend the era blaming the things for the things. I think these Republicans and conservatives are going to have a hard time now. You all, under the Biden era, right, was blaming cancel culture. So I wrote the book that defended cancel culture. You all blamed and had cultural wars. You said, oh, too much transgender people getting rights, right? Which was bullshit. But like too much diversity and inclusion. Too much conversations about wokeism. Too much safe spaces. Like, you all complained about that post-Trump. Like, once Trump lost, you all spent these past 4 years complaining about progress, right? And dunking on it, saying there needs to be a change. Okay, there's been a change. You've got what you wanted again. Now, what is your identity now? Because it can't be just talking about how wrong the Democrats were. Okay, you could do that now until the inauguration, I guess. But once you get elected, you all hate the government, right? Whoa, what are you going to say about Trump? Are y'all just going to say Trump is great? And then now we get the 4 years of progressives and liberals beginning to talk about how horrible the Trump era is. And the grift begins. It's like alternative seats. Have you all noticed this yet? I mean, for my millennials, like, have y'all noticed this? Like it just seems like the art and the work just begins the flip flop. So during the 4 years of Biden era, progressives just wanted to find an excuse to say things weren't progressive enough, whatever. Liberals, were kind of much trying to do their best to push things as much as they could, but there was resistance because we had a Republican controlled House of Representatives in Congress. But like, what's interesting is that there is a possibility that Trump is going to get the House back. Well, he's going to keep the House, potentially. Republicans got the Senate now, and you got the Supreme Court. So pretty much, you all are the cats that have the cream. Like, you can stop licking yourself. What are you going to do now? I mean, what are you going to do? Like, your identity, like, what do you do? Like, your whole identity was complaining. Like, your whole identity has been about complaining about cultural wars. My argument is, if you see gay people kissing on TV, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like, I don't know, get Trump to do something about it. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, you got the political power now. You got the juice. So what you gonna do with it? Because clearly the Democrats get the juice, and when they get the juice, they still try to like appease, they try to appease Republicans and play bipartisan. Republicans, when they get the juice, they do what they want to do immediately because that's just how it's done. I just don't know what the cultural media landscape of them. Because Fox News, your whole identity was bitching about election fraud. It was about claiming this election was stolen. It's about claiming democracy. Now you got everything. So what are you going to do? Like, I mean, right now, the whole argument now is they're going to dunk on the Democrats and progressives and act like the country doesn't want any of that shit. Okay, cool. Maybe the country don't. Maybe the country's a bunch of hidden bigots. Cool. So you got what you wanted. Now what? Because the Democrats and liberals and progressives, y'all gonna have to figure this shit out. What y'all gonna do? We know that. Like, y'all gotta go to the table and strategize and figure that shit out. But I'm just confused about the far right folks, because all the energy of like dunking and saying, yeah, okay, yeah. And so when I was on the show, I feel like they just wanted this level of like, I'm like, y'all got it. Like, I ain't a hater. I'm black. Black people's going, it gets fucked either way by political parties. We get Democrats who don't do enough for us. We get Republicans who ain't gonna do shit for us, right? We get fucked either way. So for me, it's like, it's a versatile. I'm versed in this situation. I'm not, I'm no top, no bottom. I'm versed in this situation. So for me, it's like, as a black person, it's like, I mean, you got it. You're happy. You won off of lies and bigotry. Congratulations. Now go do your thing. Why do you care what I think? Go do your thing. Go find your tribe. Go fuck yourself. Like, that's how my attitude is about it. Like, I feel like they just want people to just, they want to keep talking about people being upset. Why do you care? Like, listen, if I won, I don't give a fuck about the losers. I don't. I wouldn't care. Like, if Harris would have won, I would not spend my time being like, oh, the Trump supporters, they mad now. I don't care. Y'all have been mad for 4 years. And guess what? Y'all still angry. Y'all still mad. Y'all did all of that. And y'all still mad. I just know that they're going to be in for a treat. They're going to be for a treat. They're already waking up and realizing how fucked up this is. But I don't even care, because you chose to. When the shit continues to get high, when you don't benefit like you wanted to, when Trump does not deliver on that damn border the way you thought he was, when these wars and the shit that's going to happen does not plan out the way you think it's going to, when you don't see no major upward mobility, when these tax cuts don't hit the way that you thought they were during the pandemic, when you don't get another Donald J. Trump check, like when you don't get any of the things, right? Good. Enjoy. And guess what? I'm going to be fine. I'm intelligent. I'm resourced. I'll figure it out. But all these working class white folks in these rural bumblefuck areas, I don't know what to tell you. You'll just have to find out. And I just hope that the black folks that are in those same areas do not have to put up with your racist bullshit either. Because when you're frustrated again, and this rich white man fucks you over again, which he will, you all will realize that the racism that and the bigotry and the sexism will not keep you warm at night. You will not get, you still won't have any money. You still, your business will still go out of job. The technology will still wipe away your rural factories that you think are going to keep this country moving. AI will kill your secretary jobs. Like you'll still get fucked over. Like I have to just say that. And so while they're like, yeah, man, I'm like, we still live in the same country, right? We still live together. So while you're thinking you're proving something to black folks, y'all ain't got no money either. Poor white people are suffering. Y'all are the majority of the welfare checks. So all that cutting Social Security, that's going to impact you all at a larger rate than it will impact black people. You know that, right? Like Medicare, like y'all been wanting to kill Obamacare, but y'all been the ones that benefit the most off Obamacare. Oh, okay. Good luck on paying, more money for insulin, right? Because, when that was Biden who capped the insulin costs and all that stuff, right? Yeah, y'all was mad because y'all kept thinking black people was getting that when y'all was the white people that was actually getting those social service benefits. So when those social services get cut, who are you going to blame? You going to blame the Republican Congress, the Republican Senate, the Republican Supreme Court, the Republican White House? Like, you're going to have it all, and you're going to still get screwed over because that's how it works. So that's the takeaway for me. I just, after a week of hearing all this nonsense, these are the takeaway dispatch notes I have for a week of appointments in this kangaroo court cabinet. Now, Philadelphia, okay, because Philly has been on fire. The 76ers arena hearings have been taking off, and of course, as you can imagine, a lot of people are up in arms because the things that I already knew, now all of you are going to find out, and now no one likes the arena. So the arena hearings have taken place, and of course, the 76ers, gave us a residency black man to basically take the hits because it's very much white at the top of that leadership helm that wants this arena. And residency black man in token seat, David Gold, bless his heart, is the guy that is going to be the fall guy because he's the guy who's been at the hearings. The black guy at the hearings, David Gold, he might look familiar. He's the guy who was over rebuild, when they didn't really do much to rebuild those pre-K centers and those, those parks and recs. You remember with the soda tax? Remember the whole rebuild shit? Yeah, that black guy who was paneling that idea to charge black and brown communities, and added increased tax on soda, the soda tax. Remember that guy? That guy. Yeah, that same black guy who was running that flop that's now went over to the 76 arena and now he's running that flop. Hilarious. So he was at the hearings, the black guy, the one black guy in this operation, because most of the shit is not got black people at all. But he's the token black guy that's in the seat that they've used to really, defend the bullshit. And, I guess he gets paid good money to do it. I couldn't step and fetch it, to be honest. I know y'all like that man, whatever. I guess he's a good guy to some of you all. But I couldn't be the step and fetch it for that shit. Right? But there's always got to be someone to do the job. And knock, knock, who's there? He's there. So David was at the hearings, and there were some questions being asked by members of City Council. I'm going to tell you why I'm a little annoyed with City Council, but they did ask good questions, though. One of the big questions was about the community impact grants or whatever they called it, something about like community impact funding or whatever. What was that going to look like? Because at this point, it's $50 million, for it. And that's the amount. Now, remember, people have been saying that wasn't enough investment, that $50 million is pennies, and that's not enough money. And so a lot of people are really getting pissed off. So it's called a CBA, Community Benefits Agreement, and it is $50 million. And people are like, the 76ers have pledged to contribute $50 million in community benefits, the agreement. That is what they're saying. Now, of course, as you all know, $50 million is nothing. For a massive project like this big, that is nothing. That is literally nothing for a world-class city as big as Philadelphia. So council member at large, Isaiah Thomas, asked would they be willing to increase that amount? And they simply said no. They're not. That's it. The end. So, y'all still want to do this arena council? Okay, interesting. There was another question that was asked by council member at large, Catherine Gilmore Richardson, asking about, is there any of the major developers and leads? Are there any are they minority owned or disabled women owned businesses? They said zero. They have none working on this project. Okay, so for those keeping score, it's all white men running this whole project. And there is no agreement, no plan to raise 50 million. Also, there was a conversation about public transportation and SEPTA. Would there be any flexibility or increase to provide for SEPTA for working with SEPTA to provide accessibility to the arena? They said they're not having any conversations with SEPTA. There's no conversations, that there's no plans. They're not working on a plan with SEPTA or anything. But then in a moment of a backpedal, they said that they're willing to, have relationships and have meaningful conversations, but they're not planning on working on a plan. It was a real interesting backpedal. And this was a council member, Jamie Gauthier, who asked that question. And David Gold was the one who gave these answers as the spokesperson in this situation at the hearing. So yeah, guys, I don't know, but the 76ers arena people have made it very clear that they think they've given the best deal and that would be fucked as a city if we do this deal. Squilla has said that many members of council have expressed some disappointment, and they're not 100% sure that with the deal as it is, that they have enough to do it. Now, they need 9 members. It's 17 members of council. They're trying to figure out if they have their 9 members of council is going to still do it. I will tell you this right now. The deal is trash. The community does not want it. The public does not want it. Whoever the 9 members of council that support this deal as is, good luck trying to run for re-election, because I think that you deserve to be challenged. I think you deserve someone to challenge you. I don't think this is a smart deal, and for you to try to shove this deal down our throats, asking the questions you've asked, knowing the answer that you know, and to support it anyway is a fucking joke. The hearings are tough. They're messy. But also to the mayor, with all due respect, I have given the park administration as much grace as I can give, but at this point, this deal is trash. And to to think that this is the best deal for the city is trash. And to even consider this and want to work this deal, given the problems that we already see is going to build, it just does not make any sense. To be honest, I don't believe the 76ers. If you don't get this fucking arena, try to move it to Camden if you want to. I double dog dare you. They're not moving it to Camden, y'all. It's not happening. And the reason why they want to rush this development, this right now, is because in the event that this deal does not go through, right, then they will be stuck at Wells Fargo, which will no longer be the Wells Fargo. It's called something else now. It's not Wells Fargo Center anymore, but the name is gonna change. But their lease is up with them, so it's up in the air what they would do. Y'all might go ahead and try to renew that lease. Y'all not leaving, okay? Y'all really gonna go to Camden? Yeah, good luck trying to go to Camden, because then you won't even be able to even build in Camden, because you're gonna have to still renew with Wells Fargo, because that arena has already gotten renovations. So then you'll have to negotiate with Camden. It's gonna take another year process to create that agenda, that plan, and then you're gonna have to build over there, and it's not gonna be in time enough to transition. So I don't believe you. You're not going to Camden. It's not going to be the Camden whatever, okay? You're going to stay there where you're at in South Philly, and we're going to figure this the fuck out, because guess what? Everybody else has to figure it out when they don't get their way. And so why does these billionaires get to think that they get to just upfront us and force a deal on us? That does not make sense. And if you really want it, you would give more to the table. You don't want to give more, even though you're sitting on billions of dollars, and you think $50 million to community benefits. What kind of benefits is that? That's trash. So any member of city council who supports this deal as it currently is, and stand by it because you're scared of labor, then you don't believe in the people. You have no faith in the people. Because let me tell you something right now. The people will protect you. Just like they got Nicholas O'Rourke and Kendra, and they're going to keep them reelected, you Democrats will be fine. Maybe if you actually did other things other than just kiss the asses of unions all day long, specifically building trades all day long, and actually cared about your constituents and actually came up with other policies and things that would inspire the masses, you wouldn't have to worry about having to ass kiss certain groups. Because I'm at this point fed up. Who runs this city government? Billionaires and the building trades, or actual people? Because it seems like the only way you all show up and do something is if the building trades is behind it. And whenever they're mad or don't get their way, even though sometimes their plans suck, you all will I don't know, be at the behest of them. And it's very telling of who runs this city, even though this is a majority Black city, that to me, to a certain extent, I think that's why voters feel the way they feel in Philly. That's why the Philadelphia turnout was not high, because their mindset is, okay, you tell me Republicans are horrible, which they are, but at the same time, why is my city getting gentrified? Why are my neighborhoods being fucked over? Why does my block still look the same as it's done for the past 5 years? Why does it seem like there's no upward mobility in our public schools? Why is there asbestos in some of our schools? Why haven't there been no plan to actually put funding in our schools? Why do we still have a police department that gets millions upon millions of dollars, a sheriff department that is corrupt and filled with poor funding and allocations, but they continue to get money while the rest of us still struggle to find jobs and meaningful public service benefits? But yet you call yourselves Democrats. But there's lots of corruption. There's an indictment almost every fucking year in this damn city. And it's corruption that's happening right in front of us by people that look like us that run our city. But yet I'm supposed to be, afraid of Republicans when they don't even have any power. And the one Republican that's in office has been in office for 40 something years, has held on to power without any corruption. Interesting. He's one of the most ethically decent elected officials in our city, and he's the only Republican in City Hall right now. And well, he's not the only Republican. We have I'm talking about Jack O'Neill or Brian O'Neill. I think it's Jack O'Neill. I can't even keep up. I think it's Brian O'Neill. But he's been in city council for 40 years, longest sitting member of city council, and he's the only Republican on city council. But guess what? This guy is not there. But meanwhile, we've had an indicted city council president that, of course, beat the charges. He's not a criminal. But I'm just saying, we lost Bobby Heenan's ass because of his relationship with labor. Labor got motherfuckers indicted and also criminally convicted. Like this is what I'm talking about. We talk so much about drain the swamp. There's going to be corruption in the White House. But for voters, especially Black and brown voters in Philadelphia, they're like, what's the fucking difference? So that's why voter turnout was not high in certain cities. Because they're just looking at their cities like, well, what have you done? Y'all really think that bringing a bunch of concerts and free food was going to make Black people forget about the past 4 years? Okay. See, what we do is we either vote for the right people or we don't vote at all. The sad part is us not voting is what caused the hurt. But the problem is when you have local governments that are poorly functioning, then you're not going to get them to be inspired to vote for anything, including these local elections. Which is why Democrats like an Isaiah Thomas or a Katherine Gilmore Richardson are so labor obsessed, because they don't trust the people to show up to the polls, because they know that the city council is not serving the people as much as they should. And you all do not listen to them. Local government is failing people. And that's why they have to rely on billionaires to fund their campaigns. That's why they have to worry about these laborers and these union groups, because those are only people that's going to get people out to the polls in their respective constituencies. There is a revolution that needs to happen. And status quo Democrats that continue to dance the line with Freudian slip, continue to dance that line with Bob Brady is going to be the end of this. And so there's a reckoning that needs to happen, a wake-up call per se that needs to happen to wake people up and remind people what's going on. But as far as the arena go, anybody that continues to support that arena, you're asking for it. Anybody that want to continue to be complicit with it and support this, knowing all the signs that it is, you're asking for it. And I also think you don't deserve to be reelected. And that's my opinion. I'm speaking for myself and myself only. Vote for this arena, and to be quite honest, you should be challenged respectfully. So this week's Ask Ernest, a lot of you all has been asking me about the whole mass exodus of X, which is Twitter, basically. Everyone's leaving, or some people are leaving. They're going to Blue Sky. They're going to Threads. They're going to other places. Listen, what I will tell you is that all of these white men that run these social media tech platforms, they're all problematic in their own ways. They all got their issues. These platforms got trash. Look, I've created accounts on all of them for the sake of just having ownership of my handle, which is at Mr. Ernest Owens. But to be very clear with you all, I'm going to stay where I'm at until I feel like it. Honestly, I'm tired of hopping platforms. I don't like Elon Musk. He's trash. But y'all, I still got like 39,000 plus followers that follow me on Twitter. And to be honest, you know, I mean, I'm not blue sky is blue sky, but honestly, to just get on all these platforms, I'm just not pressed. Honestly, unless blue sky, and this is what I tell people, like Twitter is still a major, massive juggernaut for news, right? Until I see massive like media shift. What I mean is that if people are covering blue sky, post on blue sky, like if people, elected officials or whomever, or whatever, politicians or powerful celebrities, whatever, are on blue sky on these apps, and they're really creating massive news gathering information that will attract attention, that will, be a big deal, then I might, really activate that account and get active on it. But right now, I just feel like make these platforms what you make them. If you think that you're making a woke decision by going from one place to the other, honestly, they're all pretty much fucked up and they're all the same and they're all right. And so I'm not hell-bent on it, to be honest. I'm really not. Like, I'm not hell-bent on these platforms, so yeah, like I'm not on Threads. I have a Threads account. I have a Blue Sky account. I know some of y'all might go on there, but honestly, I'm not making impulsive moves. I'm not. I hear a couple of people have left and they're going to different places. That's fine. But you won't find me there until I feel like it, to be honest. At a certain point, you all can't be consistent. You all stop drinking Starbucks and now you're back on drinking Starbucks. Like, I'm just not making decisions to pivot until it just makes sense for me. Sorry. Call me selfish, call me whatever. All these platforms got their issues. All of us shouldn't even be on Facebook, to be honest. Mark Zuckerberg is part of the reason why we even got Trump in 2016. But you all stayed. So you all stayed watching the Super Bowl and the NFL. You guys don't care about CTE and concussions and Colin Kaepernick. I'm not about to make no moves off of these folks because you all cherry pick. Now, I'm saying I don't support Elon Musk. I'm not a fan of Elon Musk. But if you don't find a personal purpose in it, and to be clear, some people have left these platforms. Y'all didn't have followers. Y'all were just watchers on there. And low key, you're still on Twitter anyway because you're still watching. I mean, there has been some deductions in some of my follower count, but not massively to the point where I'm just like, And yes, tons of people are going on Blue Sky. But this reminds me of Threads. Y'all ran the Threads, and then Threads was boring. Like, Threads is boring as shit, y'all. Like, I have not seen anything pop off of Threads. I'm not on Threads, but there's nothing calling for me to be on Threads. Like, and guess what? I don't feel like I'm missing anything in the world. Like, I've realized to a certain extent, we might enter an era where people are, like, spending less time on social media, which is not a bad thing, to be honest. I'm not against that. But even myself, like, I find Instagram and Facebook to be my two besties. Twitter used to be my driver. I still am on Twitter. But I find that Instagram and Facebook have been my two. So I guess Meta, even though he's a nut. But Meta has been my consistent driving force. I like Facebook to post things with my friends and be with my close family and folks. And I love the Instagram I love Instagram because it allows me to be very visual, but also be able to also express ideas and thoughts in creative ways. So I have found Instagram to be my fave right now, my consistent fave, alongside of Facebook, just for family and personal conversations. But as far as Twitter goes, Twitter is going to stay because I just have so many followers there. And, we'll see how Twitter evolve in this current era. But to be honest, I just feel like these new platforms, whether it's Threads, whether it's Blue Sky and stuff, the magic, I don't know, right? I don't know if the magic of will be encapsulated. I just feel like at this point, if you fake, you fake. If you're problematic, you're problematic. Y'all, the biggest are gonna go on Blue Sky too. Like, you can't escape these platforms. If the cesspool of social media is inevitable. Like, every platform is gonna be a cesspool. You just got to figure out how to curate it better. So, those are my thoughts. So, as far as movies go, I'm into The Last Showgirl, which is a new film starring Pamela Anderson. People are really talking about it. They think this is Oscar worthy. Gia Coppola is the director. It's a really great indie film. It's definitely a character study film. Like, it's not giving Best Picture or anything like that, but it's giving strong, like, they're trying to do a push. This is Pamela Anderson's big moment. And so she's a longtime actress that is doing something that might get her some serious Oscar buzz and acclaim. Like, it would be nice to see her in some awards. She's got nominated for a Gotham Award, which is more in the indie categories, but there's definitely some conversations about this film. And it's really good. The last showgirl, it describes the showgirl. She was a Vegas showgirl. Her character is a Vegas showgirl who was in the spotlight, but now that era is closing and she's trying to pick up the pieces and figure out how to live her life off the stage. So there's a Jamie Lee Curtis appearance in the film. Very, very good stuff. I won't tell it, but I would love to see how it do in Oscars and how Pamela Anderson, Baywatch Bay, how this might pan out for her. Fascinating. Speaking of other Oscar baity films, there is a film called Honora. I've been talking about it a little bit, but it is directed by the guy who gave us the Florida, Sean Baker, who directed the Florida Project, which got some good buzz. And he's an interesting director, but Honora is getting a lot of buzz. I can't even describe this film to you all. It's a lot. It's drama, it's comedy, it's like rom-com-ish. It's got a lot going on. But there is a actress named Mikey Madison that people are going up for. They think that she is the girl to beat. The actress to beat for Best Actress. I've heard from a lot of film critics that I know in my groups that Mikey Madison's performance in Honora is front runner status right now. They're saying the film also has a good shot potential for Best Picture. I've seen it. It definitely does. I thought Mikey Madison's performance was good. It gives me, the thing about like performances like that, and Hollywood likes them, is it's giving like the white girl ingenue. So it's an ingenue, like the young girl. She's 25 years old. She's cute. And I think Hollywood likes an ingenue, right? You like the young actress that's either in her early 30s. In this case, she's 25. She could possibly be the youngest Best Actress winner, potentially. Because it's. I think the record is, well, actually not. Marlee Matlin was 21 years old when she won. She was the youngest and first deaf Best Actress winner. She won for her performance in Children of a Lesser God. And she won that with William Hurt. That was a very big deal. Marlee Matlin is, she's deaf, and she was in another great movie that won Best Picture. And it was great to see her back on the film. She's won some great ones. Coda is the film. Came out in 2022. Coda won Best Picture. It was an incredible film, and she was in it. And another actor won Best Supporting Actor for that film, and was also a deaf actor. And she was the first deaf actress to win, but 21 years old, she won. That was in the 80s. But Mikey Madison will probably be the second youngest at 25 years old. So Hollywood typically goes for the ingenue, the young actress. I'm thinking of, oh my goodness, I'm thinking of Jennifer Lawrence. She killed it in, Silver Lining Playbook is what she won. And I just was like, she was 22 years old. So actually, let me take that back. So Jennifer Lawrence was 22 years old when she won Best Actress for Silver Linings Playbook. God damn, 22 years old. She was 22. So Marlee Matlin was 21, Jennifer Lawrence 22. So, second youngest. So I guess Mikey Madison might be the third at 25. But like young actresses winning Best Actress is a thing. Young actors winning Best Actor is not a new thing. Like, I just want to put that in perspective. Like, actors typically are older when they win Best Actor. Who was it? It was Adrian Brody, who won Best Actor at 29 years old for The Piano. Yeah, The Pianist. The Piano? I think it was The Pianist. He won Best Actor, and that was a The Pianist, yeah, it was a 2020. It came out in 2002. He was 29 years old. He was the youngest Best Actor winner, lead actor winner at 29 years old. He won for The Pianist, and it was a shocking Best Actor win. That's the guy who went up, the tall, skinny guy who went up and kissed Halle Berry in the mouth without her consent when he won. He was all excited, and they considered it an iconic Oscar moment. I digress. But yeah, he won in 2020. He had won. And he won in 2023. I'm sorry, he won in 2003. 2003 he won. But the film came out in 2002. And he won alongside Nicole Kidman for The Hours, which is one of my favorite films of all time. Fun fact, he might actually come back and this new film that he's in, there's a chance that that film he might get an Oscar nomination for Best Actor, and this would be his first one in over 20 years. So it's interesting to see it. But yeah, there's some Oscar buzz for him, potentially with the film The Brutalist. So The Pianist and The Brutalist. But Adrian Brody is in that film as well. And of course, Nicole Kidman in the movie Baby Girl, which is potentially getting Best Actress nomination for her. So they might be 20 years later, come back to over 20 years later. Over 20 years. It's like, it's about to be 23 years. He's been nominated since. So there's a chance. There's a chance, y'all. There's a possibility that we might see a potential comeback, history. So we'll see. And also for all of my movie people, this week, Gladiator 2 comes out in theaters. Mr. Johnson and I'm going to go see Gladiator 2 again. This time I have a special screening. This time I get to bring Mr. Johnson so we can see Denzel do his big one. So we're all, catching up. We're watching Gladiator, the first one. Well, he hadn't seen Gladiator before, but, we're doing it all because Gladiator comes out in theaters this upcoming Friday. And also Wicked comes out this upcoming Friday as well. So big films. And the piano lesson is on Netflix this week as well. So go support the Washington. It's going to be a Washington production. Denzel Washington is the producer on the piano lesson, but his son, Malcolm Washington, is directing the film starring his other son, John David Washington. So it's a family affair over there. But I'm really there for the Danielle Deadwater performance. Because John David Washington's performance in the piano lesson is good. The son, Malcolm Washington, who I went to school with at Penn, this is his directorial debut. What a way, right? And the family tries to say they're not Nepo babies. They're Nepo babies. But they're talented ones. And they're actually talented Nepo babies. And honestly, Nepo babies are Nepo babies, but they're talented Nepo babies. So I'm not going to throw shade at them that much. But I'm excited. The movies are back, y'all. Right before Thanksgiving, y'all. We're doing our big one. So, music. This is very brief. Lil Nas X is back. For what it's worth. He's back. The song is all right. I'm happy he's, it's Starboy, I think he's calling himself now. Starboy era. Okay. It's better than some of the other songs he's dropped. Maybe I've aged out. I'm a millennial. I'm an older millennial. Maybe it's not my demographic. Maybe it's for the Gen Zers. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I should, there was an era and maybe that era has passed. I mean, he's trying to figure it out musically. The music videos, I feel like he just keeps making the same song. I feel like his songs have a certain pattern of sound. Yeah. Shabuzi is on his victory lap. He's just dropped a new song as well. I like him. I really do. The more I see him do interviews, the more I like him. I liked a bar song. Tipsy was a brilliant song. But he's doing his big thing. He's about to be a musical guest for Saturday Night Live. He has Good News is the name of this new song. It's a bop. I like it. He's only 29 years old. Yeah, he's the same age as my husband. And he's got some talent. Yeah, I'm just a big fan. He's been doing his big one. He been hot. For those who was a big fan of the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack, um he did the song Start a Riot, and I liked that song then. I thought he was lit then. But, Beyonce being on the Beyonce song Spaghetti on Cowboy Carter album, I think was another big boost for him. And then his song, of course, popped off, and now he's got the biggest song of the decade. He's got the biggest song, the biggest single of this decade. Yeah. Just want to put that out there. A big number one hit. So as far as TV goes, I delved into something very interesting. I watched The Penguin on HBO. What do we just call it? Max now? Whatever they call it, Max. I watched The Penguin. Very, very good. DC Comics. I never really get into DC Comics, but a lot of people kept telling me that this was a great villain origin story, and it is. Colin Firth plays the Penguin, and apparently they're going to make this like a continual show. But it was great. It was very good. It wasn't like comic booky. It was like not the corny comic book stuff that we're used to seeing. But it was just a very great series. Very great acting. Very great storytelling. I was very impressed. Normally DC doesn't do a good job, but we got the Marvel universe, but DC did his big one with this. I highly recommend it. If you're looking for something different and cool, just something a different escape, that was pretty good. I like the Penguin. Speaking of things that is not so interesting, but also interesting for me, Baddies Midwest is here. I've been watching it religiously every single week. Really liking what I'm seeing. Really like the return of certain castmates. They're fighting a lot, which is not a shocker. But I'm really feeling Baddies Midwest. The girl, they've gotten more girls that are not like reality stars. They're like bringing regular folks into the mix, which has made the storyline more compelling and interesting for what the storyline is worth. But I know that it's trash TV, so I really can't give it that much sophistication. Now, speaking of something that is not trash, well, it is like trashy, but more interesting. Love and Hip Hop Miami is coming back. I've been trying to figure out what is this storyline, because this season, they've been doing a good job hiding their drama. So like what I mean by that is like when we watch a reality TV show, a lot of times reality TV shows have good drama, but a lot of it plays out on social media, so the plot gets already spoiled. So for example, this season of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, which I really, really liked this season a lot, the problem was that when it got to the whole Kurt, Frost and Rashida drama with the relationship, I was convinced watching the show that there was a chance and the likelihood that potentially they might break up behind this girl, this Jasmine girl, the baby mama, the love affair, the love child woman, right? But of course, to my annoyance and to the frustration of many, fans of the show, she stayed by her man, which almost feels predictable at this point. She's not leaving him. They have a business agreement. I feel like if it's a marriage, but she's not leaving him. That was annoying, but in many ways predictable, because so many of us watched the show thinking that maybe this was going to be that time. Maybe this was going to be the moment, right? But it just did not happen. And that was just frustrating, because as a fan of the show, I just really wanted to see Rashida be fed up. And they always find a way. But the social media kind of told us and hinted to us what was going to happen. I'm just annoyed because I would have liked to see the changes. But anyway, Love Hip Hop Miami, I don't really know too much. There's been some previews, but they've done a good job hiding the suspense. So I'm watching this with a new pair of eyes and ears. I don't know what to expect, and I'm excited for what's to come. So I'll just say that. And, this week, is definitely, getting ready for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is not this week. As you all know, it's the following Thursday, of course, the 28th. But I'm enjoying the week ahead. There's a lot of cool, fun stuff that I'm going to be getting into. And, just really enjoying, this week. I mean, there's so much cool stuff. I mean, there's a lot of tastings and events I'm going to, sneak peeks and previews. So I'm really, taking all that in and just making the best of these times that we're in. Just taking it easy. So I encourage everybody, just take it easy. Just be easy on yourself. Don't give up. by all means, don't give up. Don't lose faith. But just be easy on yourself. Really enjoy things and don't feel the need to respond to every like fake crisis. I think one thing I've done over the past 2 weeks is that, people come to my DMs with stuff going on. And there's times I'm just kind of like, report it. Like, don't come to me. Don't, I'm not the police. This requires a private investigator. Report this. This is a crime. Like, figure out what you want to do. But like, to some extent, I'm recognizing like, I don't need to be the Superman, the superhero of every situation. And some stuff I don't need to be. And sometimes white people go figure it out. Like somebody came to me recently, was like, oh, there was this thing that happened at Woody's. Like, we're still going to Woody's? Y'all still going to the neighborhood? Y'all still dealing with bullshit in the neighborhood? And I'm supposed to care? I'm supposed to stop, drop, and roll? Like I'm supposed to be your woke crusader? Oh, this injustice thing happened. And now you want to say something 5,000 years later. And now you woke up and now you want a black person to care. And now you want me to give a fuck because now it's happened to you. I'm going to, reserve my energy and conserve my energy a lot this year. Like, and just moving forward, I'm just not going to just run the beck and call. Like, I don't care. You videotape a racist person being racist somewhere and now you want to go viral. We're so over the shock factor. We really don't give a fuck. Like, if you're not going to use hands or you're not going to protect yourself or exit the situation to tell us about, some racist random person saying a word, it's just so beneath me and my energy, my preservation. Like, I don't want the traumatic response. Like, you sat there and you filmed an act of racism happening. You thought that was a smart idea. Why didn't you actually step in and speak up and speak out? Why didn't you actually, just tell people stop fucking with this place? Like, just this desire to keep replicating the same tired old fucking way of responding and the pseudo activism performativeness. Like, I had somebody tell me a couple weeks ago, they were like, oh, racism is still happening in America. Yeah. The fact that Trump had a fighting chance and won his presidency. Yeah. What planet have you lived on? See, those are unserious people to me. People that say stuff like racism still exists as if it's a shocker. You're unserious to me. Like, you're a part of the problem. And I'm actually going to, reserve my energy, my time, because I don't have time to be an educator for free when you can just Google my articles. Like, Google my articles and you'll read my thoughts on racism. But I'm just not going to waste my time having stupid conversations with people who decide to be late to the party. So in many ways, I am reclaiming my time, my power, my energy, my resources, and I'm going to channel them into things that are going to give me meaning and purpose. And if that makes me selfish, I guess I deserve it, because every black woman, every black queer person in this country that did everything they could to reverse what has happened in this election deserves the right to be whatever they want to be, however they want to be, and serve what they want to serve. And I don't belong to anyone but myself, my family, my friends. And I want people to remember that. And I want others to preserve that time that's done it, okay? If you're somebody that's a white man that's been complicit with racism, no, by all means, it's time for you to step up and show out, okay? All you white men for Harris, keep that energy going, okay? Because the world's going to need it, okay? Y'all got it. Be good. And as always, be well and be best.
Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.